is.
Well, he's
Oh, there he
there.
go.
I'm here. I'm just hanging back in the weeds, listening, seeing what's going on.
We was worried about you for a second.
Don't ever worry about me. I'm never late. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. No, I'm good. I was just pulling up a document. I was doing a little bit of reading.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. Glad
Hello.
you could join us tonight. I'll share my screen. Let's look at our weekly schedule and see where we are. There's John, my partner in crime tonight. Me and John are presenting tonight. I go first, and so y'all can critique my presentation. Now, I'll tell you before we start, I did not make the PowerPoint. I just got one from one of my previous students over on EDLS. And they make, I actually got it for a reason. I want to show you. It's the bad example of what I talk about, the EDCI ladies, what they do. And so I picked it for that specific reason. All right. So looking at our weekly schedule, today is September 2nd. This is our first official class where we start our presentation of our book chapters. You should start on your SPA Part A. As I have told you, I don't do due dates or late or any of that. You just need to get started on it. As long as you got it in by the end of the semester, I'm good. Y'all are grown people, working people. You can't always work on my schedule, so that doesn't bother me a bit. All right, so we'll be in class again next Tuesday, so we got 3 weeks in a row, and then we'll be back in Charlotte on the 27th. Be looking. I'll remind you along the way we're doing biscuits that weekend on Saturday, and so I'll send you the Zoom link the Qualtrics link to select your breakfast. All right, so that's where we are on that. All right, we're starting out tonight with John Maxwell. He has 21 laws of leadership. I'm going to make sure, have I got that handy here? Here it is. I've got it, but I'm going to stop my share and we're going to talk just a minute. The first two books are not from theorists. Let me say that again. The first two leadership books are from contemporary writers. They're writing from the perspective of their experience, their lived experience, their observations. It's basically anecdotal. They've seen these things and now they believe these things. Now, they do have some theoretical underpinnings, but they didn't collect data like a dissertation or a referee journal. And so the question is could you use John Maxwell in your dissertation? You could quote Maxwell maybe in your acknowledgments or your introduction or something like that. But there's nowhere in chapter 2 that you would put somebody, either one of these authors. This is not referee journal. This is not empirical research. This is not work that they have gathered. This is from the practitioner perspective. We start you off with books like this because they're easy to read, they're interesting. A lot of it resonates with you. Some of the more heavy literature on theory does none of those things. It's hard to read, it doesn't resonate. Some of it's very old, like me. And it just doesn't resonate. It was never easy to read. But these people kind of lean on them. Perhaps the most famous book in management ever was Jim Collins' Good to Great. Y'all have heard of that book, Good to Great. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that was all the rage, was Good to Great. It's a straight ripoff of Getzels-Gubel's social systems model. But they were dead by then, so nobody complained. And Collins made millions and became a guru. It's just a practical application of the Getzels-Gubel model. Basically, what we need for you to do every day is what you need to do in the organization. That role, not have role ambiguity. And he talks about getting the right people and getting them on the bus. It's just metaphor for what I need for you to do today has to be what you want to do. Same thing that Getzels-Gubel talked about, the social systems paradigm that he did. It's exactly the same stuff, except Collins wrote it in a way that everybody could understand it. And people got so into that, they were carrying that book around like it was Mao's little red book in China when they used to make them carry it around. There were people in business that carried Collins's book around like it was their mantra. It's mostly drivel, but that's another story. But what I need for you to begin to recognize is the difference between things that people write about that interest them from their experience and then academic writing that like you would use to write a dissertation. That's why I talked about going to Yahoo, learning to spot what's an ad, what's real, what's fake. Same thing. This is the next level up now. That was a pretty easy one. The Yahoo one. Now this one's a little more. Some of this writing, some of these books, is it really academic writing or not? Well, did they collect any data? Did they cite sources? Is it referenced? What was the population, the sample? What analytics did they use? If you don't see any of those things, it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not academic writing. And it should not be in your chapter 2. So we're going to kick off tonight. Again, this is the bad example. This is what I do not want to see. Now, full disclosure, I love this lady. I'm on her committee. She's a ball of flame. But this was the first one she did before I thrashed her so hard she quit doing this. But this was the first PowerPoint that she did. So I'll share my screen, and I'm going to cover John Maxwell's first 3 laws. So let me start my share. This is from Anne Marie Hale up in Catawba County. All right, as you can see, chapter 1, the law of the lid. Again, got a background, a watermark or whatever, can't read it. Got a picture on the second page. I don't know what that means. No good. Too small. Should have had these on different pages. Hard to see. Title's too big. Should have made the actual content bigger. Title smaller, content bigger. 2/3 of the picture's taken up with a picture, and so you can't read the font if you're back behind the room. I've got it enlarged tonight so we can read it. This one's is pretty good, other than I don't like that sandpaper look on the background, but that slide looks like yours should look like. Don't like this one because I can't tell, it's over top, different colors, not too much title and not enough. And then she changed the background color, but you see, not a lot of content, just mostly style. That's the C&I way. Dazzle them, make it look pretty. Again, don't know. Again, big pictures, no big pictures, small font. Again, you could have gotten that a whole lot bigger if you didn't have it that way. That's a good slide right there. She's got one good slide every now and then because I made her do one. That's a good slide. That's what we want to see right there. That's a good slide. Bad slide, just a big picture. This one, the title's too big, makes the font too small down here. Can't read it. Again, I don't know what that, too small, title too big, font too small. I can't read that at all because I'm colorblind. Don't know what that says. And again, pictures. Again, font, title too big, font too small and too light. Can't read it against the background, and there's the references. This is a straight C&I presentation right here. That's what they do right there. It's all about the style. It's not about the substance. Yours must be about the substance, not about the style. We're not trying to entertain teachers in staff development. We're trying to share information with other professionals at a different level. If they need to be entertained, they can get them a Netflix subscription. It's not my job. So that's what I talk about. Now, if you were to show up at your proposal or final defense, well, you wouldn't, because I wouldn't let you. I would never allow you to propose or defend with a slideshow for your presentation that looked like this. This is not who we are. This is not what we do. All right, so let's delve into John Maxwell. Who is John Maxwell? Anybody know who John Maxwell is? What's his day job? Nobody knows who John Maxwell, what his day job. Well, he goes around and speaks now, but his day job, he's a Baptist minister. That's who he actually is. So let's Google him right quick. We can always do the Google. Get out of my way. John C. Maxwell, American author and orator, 78 years old. Garden City, Michigan. Ohio Christian University, Fuller Theological Seminary, Azusa Pacific. All right. He's an evangelical Christian, and he followed his father into the ministry. He's an ordained minister in the Wesleyan Church. He's led churches in Indiana, Ohio, California, and Florida. So he is not an academic. That's another clue. If you don't know about somebody, just Google, what their resume is. He's not an academic. He's a church person, and that's about not a bad thing. He's Master of Divinity, Doctor of Ministry degree at Fuller Theological. Not an academic. He's a practitioner. He preached for years. 14 years at Skyline. Uh, yeah, lot of big churches, evangelical. He's an evangelical. He's a Christian. He arrested him for having a concealed weapon at the airport. So yeah, I'd say he'd be an evangelical. But yeah, you can see that. So not an academic, not a bad person, but not an academic. All right, so back to who he is. Understanding a lot of this stuff is anecdotal. It's just common sense. It does have some theoretical basis behind it in situational leadership, Hershey and Blanchard. That is a theory. It's pretty much Maxwell's 21 laws are the personification of Hershey and Blanchard's situational leadership theory, which was hot, hot, hot in the 80s and 90s when Maxwell came along. He took their theories, task and relationship behaviors, and how you moved them around and did all those things, and put that into 21 laws and from his own experiences. But it's loosely based on situational leadership. Now, could you use situational leadership in your dissertation from Hershey and Blanchard? Oh, most definitely, I did. But you would only use it as kind of a minor part because we're 30 years past it now. That's another thing. Some of your theorists are from back in the day, but it still has to be able to be applied to today. All right, so chapter one, law of the lid. Leadership ability determines the person's level of effectiveness. The law of the lid basically is we all have a lid, and if we can move that lid up, and the higher our lid is, higher our capacity, our intelligence, our skill set, the more effective we are. Again, that's just a common sense things. Competent people, smart people get more done than incompetent dumb people. That's just the way life works. That one didn't take a longitudinal study to figure that one out. That one is pretty much just a kind of a common knowledge kind of thing that more capable people are more effective than people who are less capable. That's pretty much the law of the lid. And he's got a couple dimensions he's drawn. Again, this looks a lot like Hershey and Blanchard's dimensions. They do theirs in quadrants. That's what I'm talking about. It's different quadrants and all that. At the end of the day, what you have to understand is you can't treat everybody the same. You have to build your skill set so you can be able to lead in different ways with different people. Hershey and Blanchard say that you got to be able to lead in different ways. And when you have beginning people, they need a high task, high relationship behaviors. which means you got to tell them what to do and you got to support them emotionally. And then eventually they get to be your best employees, more mature. You don't have to do either. But you have to have the skill set to be able to do that. Maxwell has just done it his grid looks a little bit different. The higher you want to climb, the more you need leadership, the greater impact to make, the greater influence needs to be. Maxwell, he's quoting himself there. Partner with someone whose strengths complement your weaknesses. Replace ineffective leaders that might be hindering progress. Offer more training to your team. Evaluate and work on improving your own leadership skills. Seek feedback from others about your leadership abilities. Again, that's Hershey and Blanchard stuff right there. But again, it's just common sense. Leadership is a skill. It's learned behavior. That's the law to learn here from Law of the Lid. You can learn these things. This trait behavior, this trait, you're born a leader or you're not. No, you can learn leadership. You can learn leadership. You can learn the skills and abilities. That's the whole idea of Hershey and Blanchard. You can learn it. All right. And then, okay. Chapter 2, the law of influence. The true measure of leadership is influence, getting people to do. Just like transactional leadership, you inspire and motivate people to do things. Again, you're trying to influence people. Leadership is influencing people to do what you want them to do. It's no more than that. It's no less. People ask me all the time, "What is leadership?" It's getting people to help you get stuff done, whatever the task is. It's getting other people to help you to get the task done. That's it. The law of influence. Now, if you have to use coercion, then it's not leadership. And if you have to use pay, it's just management. But true leadership inspires and motivates people to help you. You get a common cause and you get behind it and off you go. But that's what leadership is, influencing others to get the task done, whatever the task is. If you don't have influence, you'll never be able to lead others. 5 myths about leadership: the management myth, the entrepreneur, the knowledge myth, the pioneer position myth. These are all in the chapter, and you can read those. You need to understand those 5 myths. And so, the myths in all these is that you don't have to influence people, that you can just manage them. That's not true. Anyway, they're all here. The whole idea is you got to influence people. So you have to be a person of character. You have to build relationships. You have to know stuff. You have to have intuition. You have to have experience, past success, and ability. What I generally refer to as receipts. You've been there, you've done that. You have the receipts. This is what the receipts are right here. Character, relationships, knowledge, intuition, experience, past success, and ability. Those what are generally known now as receipts. That's what leadership is. You have all these things, you can be a leader. If you don't have any of these things or only some of them, you cannot be an effective leader. He who thinks he leads but has no followers is only taking a walk. Yeah. First tenet of leadership is followership. Reflecting on your influence. Generally, we sit and do this when we're in a class situation where we sit and rate ourselves on all these things and to do a self-assessment to see where we can improve. But those are the things that you need to have right here to be a leader. That's why I love that slide. You got to have character. People won't follow people that they can't trust or believe in. Now you say, well, all these people are following the current president and they can't trust him, but they believe in him. That's the thing that everybody discounts about him and his influence. People believe in him. And they believe he's been successful. But more than anything else, they believe in him. And that's that that relationships, that experience, past success, whether it's true or not, most of it's urban legend or myth, but they believe it, and so they believe in him. Um, they believe that he does have character because of the bad things that he does, because he does them to people they don't like. They think that shows character, when character is you treat everybody well. But they believe that. And so, again, these are the things that you need to be a capable leader. Okay. The law of the process: leadership develops daily, not in a day. The power of the process um, encourages development, matures people. Is a culture issue, changes people, is difficult. An event is encourages decisions, motivates people, is a calendar issue, challenges people, and is easy. Having an event versus a process every day. What Ron Thompson used to refer to as having school. We're going to have school every day. It's going to be a process. He was principal a long time at East Meck. We called it having school. You got to have a process, the power of the process. Why do we why do we practice all the time in athletics? The power of the process. Unless you're Allen Iverson, practice. He didn't want to practice, but everybody else needs to practice. It's a process. Um, that you must find the process
Right.
that works.
Bringing my phone is
All right. 5 phases of leadership growth. I don't know what I don't know. I know what I need to know. I know what I don't know. I know and grow, and it starts to show. I simply go because of what I know. Those are the kind of the stages of that. Just like in the MSA program, when you go in an interview, I tell you all the time, you need to know what you don't know. Um, uh, that way, because that shows that you're about middle of the road if you know what you don't know. And that's where an assistant principal starts, about the middle of the road in leadership. You graduated from the teacher levels of leadership, and now you're moving into school administration. That's about the third level of leadership. About here, I know what I don't know. The reason why you need to know what you don't know is so that you'll go out and fix it, so that you will acquire the skills that you need. Champions don't become champions in the ring. They're merely recognized. You got to put in the hard work, and you got to do a personal growth plan. And so that's the whole idea is you've got to develop yourself a process, and you have to do the same thing for your organization. It must be a process of leadership. And so um, that reviews these. Now, it's a lot deeper. I have just skimmed it, the big ideas here. But to review, the law of the lid is you can increase your career trajectory where you end up by increasing your skill and ability. That the more that you have, the more likely you are to be successful and rise. That's the takeaway on that one. Leadership is influencing others to help you meet a goal or a task. And then three, the law of the process is that you have to work at it every day, but there are things that you have to do. You have to be realistic. You have to show up and work hard every day, not only develop your skills, but in your organization as well. That it's the grind, it's the day to day where people get it done. It's not the stars that get it done, it's the grinders. The stars tend to flame out. That's one of the things that Steve Laws and I talked about a lot. Um, is you have these people who come along in your organization and they're just red hot, but they just flame out. It's the people that show up every day, every day, every day. They're the people who have influence. They're the people who get, the law of the process, that get the influence, that get the skill, get the ability, and people will follow them. It's just that simple. Anybody have any questions on those? Again, Maxwell's books written, he's not an academic, he's a pastor, an evangelical. Um, these are just common sense kind of things, loosely based on, if you want to read the theoretical foundation of his work, it's Hershey and Blanchard. Situational leadership is the theoretical foundation behind his work. All right, we're going to switch gears now. John, you got something for us tonight?
Yes, sir, I do. And
I'm going to turn off my camera so you can share your screen.
okay,
If you got something that we can see.
I do. Hold on just a second. All right. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I am going to begin with parts one and part two of Simon Sinek's Start with Why. And I hope mine is short and sweet, or as short and sweet as Dr. Lamb's. But Simon Sinek, he begins his chapter, part one, A World That Doesn't Start with Why. And he sets up two dichotomies, and he spends a lot of time talking about assumptions about the world based on incomplete or false information. And he goes through painting a picture and having us guess which leader it is. Is it Hitler? And he doesn't say it until we get into it. Or is it John F. Kennedy? And when faced with the result that doesn't go according to plan, we have a series of perfectly effectively short-term tactics, and they're used until the desired outcome is achieved. And great leaders understand the value in the things we cannot see. And so we have the stories of GMC and the Japanese car automaker. And the Japanese car automaker says that, we design our doors when the car is being engineered, but the American automaker has a person whose job it is just to check the doors to make sure that they're sealed. And so that person uses a mallet. And so the thinking there is looking at fit by design, not by default. And so you have the Japanese who spent time thinking about those little things, and it was created in the design, but the American car maker that was fit by default. And we get into the carrot and the sticks. And in this piece, Sinek spends a lot of time talking about manipulation to set up what he's getting to later in the chapter. And so, why is customer your customer? Why is your employee your employee? And so, setting us up to go a little bit deeper. And how do you know how to attract the right employees or more employees? And how do you encourage loyalty among those that you already have? And so just jogging our thinking and getting us ready for the next phase or the next level. And a lot of information in this chapter goes through um, different types of manipulation that's used to gain customers or to have repeat buyers. He talks about price and playing the price game, and how that can come at a tremendous cost. And we talk about promotions, how different companies, how different advertisements have promotions to add value or as a value added. And it goes through examples of GM and how in later years, Toyota comes along and gives them a run for their money. And in those different types of manipulations, you have the breakage, which measures the percentage of people with customers who fail to take advantage of a promotion. And then you have slippage, those people who apply for the rebate or cash rebate. and checks and they receive it. And then typically the breakage happens when buyers perform the necessary steps, and companies make it more complicated to perform those steps so that they don't lose the profit margin. And so there's another manipulation, which is the fear factor or the fear technique. And one of the things that I found interesting was the fear of missing out, was one of those manipulation techniques. We go on into aspirations, which works for business to business transactions and not necessarily a system failure, but the ability to maintain the system. And so aspirational messages are more towards something desirable, and the messages are most effective with those who lack discipline or having a nagging fear of insecurity, and they don't have the ability to achieve their dreams on their own. He goes through peer pressure, which, once again, the fear of missing out. He goes through those commercials that we see 4 out of 5 dentists recommend, and just, the professional knows better than the consumer. So if it's good for the professional, it's good for the consumer. Novelty gets into innovation, and so real innovation changes the course of an industry or a society. The price you pay for the cost you make. And so once again, manipulation works, but um, it's a costly deed. And then the loyalty turned down. So you have a better price, or businesses when your customers are loyal, they trust you, and businesses stick with manipulation because because it leads to transactions and not loyalty. And so in the next piece, we have an example or an illustration of Douglas Feinstein and Michael Moran. And he discovered that most of their customers did business with them only once. And once again, this was a part of the carrot and the stick. And so they had transactional businesses. And so they didn't need to go any further than those transactional moments. And so manipulation works, but as I said, it costs money and money runs out. So it has become the norm because it works. We have so many examples of it working. And one negative part of the manipulation tactic is that it causes stress. And knowing you have loyal customers and employee base not only reduces cost, it provides peace of mind. And in part two is the part that I found most inspiring. And so looking at the alternative to manipulation is the alternative perspective is to inspire. And so we get into the golden circle, and the golden circle, a natural occurring pattern. And Cynic found that it has so many practical applications to many fields. And so we look at uh, how it produces repeatable, predictable results. And the golden circle alternative perspective, existing assumptions about why leaders um, and those that have been successful in business have achieved an enormous amount of influence. So applications for inspiration, like um, hmm, us like improving leadership, marketing, loyalty, culture, um, hiring, sales, and marketing, and how to create momentum to increase and to turn an idea into a social movement. and looking at social movements, consistency from inside and out. And when we talk about inside and out, we look at the illustration of the circles in the book. And he goes into laying the foundation for what, how, and why. The what companies and organizations do, everyone is able to describe what they do. That's easy to identify. The how they do what they do, is usually more is usually explain how something is different or better. So when we talk about or look at differentiation, the why, very few people can articulate the why they do what they do. Not a result, but what's your purpose, cause, or your belief? And so, why does your company exist? And it's offered as a reason to buy the product. And in this section, Apple is an example. And on page 40, you can see the message starts with why. The Apple message starts with why. And people don't buy what you do, they buy what you do. And the only way, just one way, knowing your why is not the only way to be successful, but only way to motivate or the only way to maintain a lasting success. So not the only way, just one way is knowing your why, and is knowing that knowing your way is not the only way to be successful, but only way to maintain the lasting success. And thinking about why did we start doing what we were doing? What can we do to to further our cause? And this is the opinion. This is not opinion. This is biology. In this section, we have Dr. Seuss's book, The Sneetches, and it illustrates the need to belong. We all want to be a part of something, and we want to be around organizations, people who like us and share our beliefs. And so when a company clearly communicates their why, we will go to the extra mile to include the products or brands in our lives and to support that company or organization. Um, Gut decisions don't happen in your stomach. Principles grounded in evolutionary behavior, and it goes into the three main levels of the brain. The first being the neocortex, and that level is traditional and analytical thought. The second is the limbic brain, which controls feelings of trust and loyalty. And we look at the power of why is not an opinion, it's a biology. And the limbic part of the brain, powerful enough to drive behavior uh, that contradicts our rational and analytical understanding of a situation. And people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so the ability to win hearts begins with why. If you don't, if you don't have the why, it makes a decision even harder. Many of the decisions we make is in a day are emotionally driven. It's what you can't see that matters. False assumptions, going back to that idea of assumptions and limbic brain, which controls our gut decisions and influences us to do things that seem illogical or irrational. People, companies with a clear sense of why give people a way to tell the outside world who they are and what they believe. And clarity, discipline, and consistency in that section, clarity of why to inspire begins with the clarity of why. You have to know why you do what you do. If you don't know why, you don't know what. Discipline of how, discipline of how, once you know why, you know how will you do it. You have discipline. You hold all parties within your organization accountable for how you do things. Consistency of what everything you do or everything you say have has been proven, has proven what you believe. Everything is aligned, and the why is a building block, and how are the actions that you take to realize that belief. What's what are the results? And so, what is where authenticity happens? And going back to the golden circle, it balances out every action, every word spoken is aligned to your authenticity. Looking at passion, it can be felt in the authenticity and produces relationships centered on trust and loyalty, and the right order, looking at clarity of why, the discipline, accountability to your own values and principles are consistent in all that you say and do. You should keep it all in the right order, starting with why changes the importance of the message. What's provided, or what's provided, it has tangible proof of the why. And the example of Southwest Airlines and cheap fares. So that cheap fare spoke to people who were common people, as Cynic put it. So all of these things impact, or all of those, what, why, and how impact the limbic brain. So when we move beyond insecurity, uncertainty, or dreams, we move from being motivated to being inspired. And so looking at moving from that manipulation into being to have an influence and inspiration. Many businesses work so hard to prove their value without saying why they exist in the first place. And I think the analogy of a first date was used there. And so the 3 degrees of clarity. I trust my gut is not measurable. Gut decisions can only be made by one person. The power of why is fully realized when more people are able to chime in the decision. So the goal of businesses should be to focus on people who believe what you believe, or who believe in what you believe. And that is the conclusion.
Very good. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's let's talk about Cynic. Now, Cynic, um, start with the why. Why are we doing this? What's our purpose? How are we going to do it? The golden circle of those kinds of things. Ask the bigger questions. Just like when we do a dissertation, why are we doing this? Well, we start with a problem. That's our why. That's why I tell you all the time in leadership, you got to start with a problem. That's our why. Why are we doing this? We're trying to solve this problem. Our job as school administrators, make a good number go up or a bad number go down. We identify our problems. That's our why. That's where we start, and it's a very self-determinate philosophy that I can fix this. That it's not just random. It's not just luck. That success is earned through hard work, being smart, monitoring your data, knowing what you're doing, those kinds of things. It's not just you're not just a feather on the wind like at the end of Forrest Gump. That you're steering the ship. Then that's the whole idea of start with the why, what, and how. Be determinate. Going to have a plan. Going to get it done. It's up to me. Um, I can make a difference. That's the whole notion here of Cynic start with the why. Now, contrary to that is Malcolm Gladwell. Now, Cynic is very much his material aligns with Deci and Ryan's self-determination. That's the theory. That's the theoretical basis. The theoretical basis of Maxwell is situational leadership. The theoretical basis for Simon Sinek um, is Deci and Ryan's self-determination. That I can make things happen. I have control. It's up to me. My hard work, dedication, determination, intelligence, drive, initiative, that I can make a difference through that. It's not just going to be random. That's Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory. This is a takeoff on that. Now, there's another popular writer, Malcolm Gladwell, who writes that a lot of success is simply based on luck. Just being at the right time in the right place. You know, you got to be planned and prepared, and you got to be smart and work hard. He's not saying that Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were dummies, but they were at the right time at the right place. He wrote a book called Outliers where he talked about that we discount the amount of luck and timing, that a lot of success is due to luck and timing. All right. Let me give you a today example of that. What happened to Carolina football last night? Eh, they got beat like a rented mule last night. Look bad. Look bad doing it too. All right. Why did Chapel Hill go out and give all that money for a man in his 70s that never coached college football, but they believed that he could get it done? But I'm going to have to side with Malcolm Gladwell on him because I did a little looking. I'd already done it, but I went back and looked again. And you can look it up as well. His success is based on luck. He's a hard worker, has a system, process, but a lot of it was just luck. If you look at his head coaching record with all the teams that he's coached for, head coach, and you compile it, he's a below average coach except for the Brady years. He was lucky. Did he know that Tom Brady was going to be a star? No. How did Brady get the start? The other guy got hurt. They were about to cut Brady from the team. The other guys got hurt, and he got his shot, and he ended up being great. But if you look at Bill Belichick's coaching record before and after Brady, he has a losing record everywhere he's ever been, except for the Brady years. If you total them all up, and I have. So that's what Gladwell talks about. Yes, he's probably a good coach and he's preparing and prepared. And he knows his business and all that, but he didn't plan on Tom Brady. That was just a complete anomaly, an outlier, as Malcolm Gladwell would say. And without Brady, he's a losing football coach. Now, I don't know what he'll do at Chapel Hill. If last night's any indication, not very well. But I was not surprised. He doesn't have unless Brad Johnson's kid, what's his first name? Les Brad's kid, who played at Owen and Swannanoa, unless he turns out to be something great. Of course, obviously, he was on Max Johnson. He was on the thing that looked good last night, but he didn't give him the starting job. Again, he lucked into that one. Max Johnson looked good, but he's not the guy that Belichick picked to start the game and to be a starting quarterback. He may get lucky again and fall into another Brady situation where the guy that he passed over, he had to go with him because of attrition, ends up being his star. Could be. Don't know. But the whole notion here is Cynic says that you can make things happen no matter what. Gladwell offers the countering. You can have all the pieces in place, but sometimes it's just luck. Just like New England was just luck with Brady. We'll see if that will carry over to Chapel Hill or not. But looking at the statistics, it does not bode well unless he gets, unless the miracle child is delivered to him. It doesn't look good for him. Now, what can we learn? What lessons in leadership can we take away from that? Is that we have to work hard and we have to build our skill set. We can't depend on luck. If we get it, that's great, but we must be self-determinant. We must believe that we can make a difference. That's kind of the bottom line on cynics. Start with the why. Is it's up to you as a leader. All right. What have we missed tonight, John? That was an excellent job tonight. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So our takeaways as we start again, I want you to remember these books are not academic in nature. They are practical. They are lessons and interesting things that we can learn along the way. We will graduate to more academic material in later courses, but we're starting out with things that are not, so that you can learn to discern academic work from simply literary work. And that's what we're working on tonight. Anybody have any questions on our material for the evening? All right, before we go, let's look at our schedule again as a reminder. Let me move that out of the way. We'll be online for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll be in Charlotte on the weekend of the 27th and 28th, and we'll do breakfast then. So just as a reminder. So next week, we have Quintina and Victoria, and the week following, I don't believe Amy's with us, and so that will be me, looks like. And so I will present on Maxwell's Laws 7 through 9. But next week we have two folks who will be ready to present. Anybody have anything for the good of the group before we go? Again, we got done a few minutes early. Look at us. Stay right on our hour.
I have just something really quick.
All right.
With the spa, I've been trying to get it together and get it started, and I'm having some resistance from my district as far as approving me to do the work and gather a team. Do you have any suggestions with that?
Don't anger or aggravate them. We're going to need them probably later on to do dissertation work. I had a call last week from a district, and they were still mad at the candidate because of what trying to get data during classes. Just get what you can, do the best you can.
Okay.
Just whatever's publicly available, and this is a good lesson in leadership, learning how to do the micro political piece where you don't make everybody mad.
And that's what I figured I was
This
gonna have.
is this is the battle. We want to win the war, the dissertation war later on.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? That's a great question. That's good advice for all of us. Do not anger the people that control the data later on or our access to it.
So I reached out to our interim, Caddy Moore, and she had me to talk to the accountability, and I explained to him what I would be doing. So he said for the analyst, he gave me permission to analyze what is already public knowledge.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll take that. And he gave me the application for what I'm gonna need down the road. So he went ahead and told me, to start reviewing this because you'll need this later. So I thought that was a good starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now our district is in shambles. Like people that was there last week are no longer there. And they're actually like mentors of mine that have been at central office for years, been powerful. And they just got riffed last week. Some job, some not. It's really bad right now. You don't even know who to go to. You don't even know who's left. Um, so what I did was I got some professionals to work with me to agree to discuss it. We taking it apart, having discussions. Educational people, master's degrees or higher, just to sit and take it apart. So that's what I've sort of done to sort of get
Yeah.
around who's left and who's not, and then possibly look at adding additional people as the dust settles
Yeah.
as we move forward.
Yeah, you may have to use some building level people to do
Yeah.
this. That's okay.
Okay.
It's the process that learning the process is the important part.
Okay.
And you may have to adapt and do some things at the building level. That's okay.
Okay.
But that does not, that's again, down the road, we're going to have to go through the formal process and get the paperwork and fill it out and do all that. I don't want this to be that. I just want us to ease into this, and not make people not want to see us coming when they see us. We want to partner with these people long term. So we're not trying to overpower anybody at this phase, nor ever, but especially at this phase. But again, you may have to put together a group of your colleagues at the building level.
Okay.
Your administrative team at your building would be a good one. That's a good idea. Good stuff. All right. Well, I'm always surprised when anybody shows up after having spent a whole weekend with me, so I commend you for that. It's good to see everybody tonight. I'll see you next Tuesday night.
All right.
Love you, mean it. Bye-bye.
Oh, one more question. Just one
All
more.
right.
So the spa's not due tonight?
No,
Oh,
no,
it's got on there
just
due.
started. It was just getting started. And
Oh,
again,
well,
there's
that's
no due
great.
dates. There's no lates. I mean, just as long as you get it done by the end of the semester, because again, just like Sana's got a situation where it may take her a month to get anything to even start.
Sana and I are in the same situation,
That's what I
so
mean. It's
I'll meet with you, Sana.
yeah,
I'll
that's
come
what I'm
up to
talking about.
Yeah.
I can't create some artificial timeline and due dates for people who are working out in the real world. What I do is not really real. What you do every day is real, and we have to adjust to that, not them to us. Um, if we start trying to make everybody to adjust to us, then people won't like to see us coming. And the whole idea of this program is for you to get a better job down the road, not be able to get any job. So tread lightly. And don't worry about turn-in dates and all that. I never put those in because I understand, I did what you do for 32 years. I have, I have a few of the receipts myself. And I used to have to be the person that made the decision on research and those kinds of things. And so I've sat in that seat. I know what that is. And I've been through a couple of rifts. We called it the Renaissance in Charlotte one year when we laid off 200 people.
Mm.
When we got hit by the Republicans got in that gang of five and cut our budget, we had to lay off 200 people. And so, yeah, been there, done that. Yeah, got the side of my new truck scratched, shot at a couple of times. Yeah, don't make people happy. Yeah. And even if you put a nice little name on it, like the Renaissance, it don't matter. People still getting riffed. People still having to go home.
Yeah.
No title you're going to put on it's going to make it more palatable for anybody. When you have some spare time, you can Google the Gang of Five, the county commissioners back in the 90s in Charlotte Mecklenburg that ran as a block and got in, and what they did to the school budget and all the layoffs that we had to do back then. It wasn't as big a mess as what's going on in Winston, but we still laid off 200 people at one time. Never fun. And doesn't it has lasting impact. Let's just say that it has lasting impact for everybody, even the people that survive it. It's never the same. It's never the same afterwards. We'll talk more about that when we're together next time, how to kind of survive this and get through it. We're gonna talk about that, and I'll share some of that, what little I learned. All righty. All right. We made it on time still. Good to see everybody tonight. Thank you.
A good one.
Good. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.